Hey, yeah, can I call you back here in a second? I'm getting ready to talk to a class about some genetics. All right, yep, genetics for life, yep. Hey, you, fourth row, seat two, you better pay attention. This is about to be on the final. Howdy, folks. My name is Colby Baker, and today we have a couple experts with us here talking with producers like myself to discuss the role crossbreeding plays in terms of heritability and passing down of the specific traits through different breeding lines. It's a common misconception for most producers to underestimate the benefit hybrid vigor can play in increasing lowly heritable traits such as reproductivity and longevity. To start us off, Gabrielle Gillum will be breaking down and explain different aspects of heritability.
To understand heritability, one must first be able to read a Punnett square. The first picture shows a completed Punnett square with two alleles that code for a phenotype. The blue allele is dominant and the orange allele is recessive. The following pictures depict how to correctly fill out a Punnett square. First, carry out the dominant blue allele across the rows. Second, carry the recessive orange allele down both columns. These are the only two steps required to fill out a simple 2x2 Punnett square. This example was just done to show how to use a Punnett square. We will use the process but not the two alleles to complete the next example. In this Punnett square, the blue represents the Angus breed and the orange represents the Salers breed. This shows how crossbreeding two purebred lines will generate an F1 generation that benefits from heterosis. When the purebred Angus and Salers cattle are crossed, you can see that the entire F1 generation is heterozygous. Not all breeds are the same, so it is important to look at which breeds will have alternate forms of a gene at a locus. The less related the two breeds are, the greater probability that there will be two different genes at that locus. For example, when you cross an Angus and Salers, you would expect cow fertility to be impacted by heterosis by roughly 10%. This heterosis is important to producers because traits such as reproductive efficiency and productivity can be beneficial from an economic standpoint.
Thank you for that wonderful information on heritability and heterosis, Gabrielle. Next, we will have Maggie Jean Smith discussing how phenotype expression can be altered by both genetics and the surrounding environment.
In order to gain a better understanding of this concept, we will first identify the different components of phenotypic variance. VP is the total variance in phenotype. Comprising of this is VA, which is the additive genetic variance, which consists of the additive effect of genes on the phenotype. VD is the dominance genetic variance, in which genes have a dominance component, which in turn means they would not be additive. VI is the genetic interaction variance, which means where genes at different loci may interact in the same way that alleles at the same locus interact. VE is environmental variance. This includes difference in environmental factors. Different environments will have effects on reproductive efficiency and longevity of cattle. VG by E is the genetic environmental interaction variance, which is the effect of a gene depends on the specific environment in which it is found. VG is the genetic variance, which is made up of the phenotypes among individual members in a population. VG consists of VA plus VD plus VI. So in turn, VP can also be expressed as equaling VG plus VE plus VG by E. In terms of narrow sense heritability, which is represented by H squared equal to the additive genetic variance divided by the phenotypic variance. Within the study of genetics, the proportion of phenotypic variance that results from the additive genetic variance is considered to be more relevant. This is because the additive variance will usually determine the resemblance between parents and offspring. We would expect the narrow sense heritability to be higher in a crossbreeding program because we would expect more variation in the offspring. For example, an increase in reproductivity due to heterosis.
Thank you, Maggie, for them inspiring words on phenotypic expression. Next, we have scientist Dean Clare speaking to us on the role fitness and selection play in the cattle industry.
Fitness is defined as the relative reproductive success of a genotype. Although this term is most commonly associated with the success of a genotype in the wild, the concept is the same in the controlled environment of a working beef ranch. Within heterosis, the added benefits of longevity and other traits represent the success defined by fitness. This success then determines the relative intensity of selection for a specific genotype. To better understand this, I like to think of polar bears. Their genotype creates the most ideal bear for the cold Arctic tundra, so they would have a high fitness value, and this is why they are the result of natural selection. In a cattle operation, crossbred cattle are desirable because of the reasons discussed by Gabrielle and Maggie earlier in this video. As a result, their genotype will be selected by ranchers.
Thank you, Dean, for that knowledge of fitness and selection. Next, we have my colleague Devin Collison wrapping up today's events and speaking to you a little bit about a summary of what we've learned.
Thanks, Colby, but apparently we aren't that good of colleagues because my last name's Colson, not whatever bunch of words you put together. As we see, using heterosis to your advantage as producers is the smart, it's the best way to increase your profits. As Gabrielle mentions, crossbreeding allows heterosis to have a larger impact on the lowly heritable traits within your beef herd, while Maggie gave us an in-depth look at how the environment and various other factors play a role in the phenotype of the cattle and how additive genetics impact that outcome. Lastly, Dean sums up crossbreeding and how it's going to allow superior genetics to stay in your herd as we, as ranchers, choose to seek out improvements. In these quantitative traits, the genetics have given us a better way to look into crossbreeding and is a great tool for us as producers.